Okay, so I, Alisha, am here with Kerin today, and she's going to teach me how to knit with magic loop.
That is right.
I'm making a hat that asked for DPNs, and I've never used DPNs, and I was talking to Kerin about it, and she suggested that rather than using DPNs, I try magic loop. So that is what we're doing.
Yep, that's right, because the way I look at it, I think about it as a efficiency of motion when you're actually trying to knit across a larger amount of stitches. Splitting it up into smaller pieces is what you would do on DPNs, and that's less efficient. And you're also dealing then with 10 points because you've got, roughly, I mean, you could have 8 or 10. You've got 4 needles in your hat, which each have 2 points, and then the needle that you're using to knit off on, and that's got another 2 points. So that's a whole lot of pointy things and a whole lot of different parts to it. And then there's 2 circulars method, but then you've got 4 points. And this is absolutely the most efficient system to knit something in the round. And so you use magic loop, and you can use it for anything you're doing in the round. And in this case, I'm decreasing the top of a hat, and the top of a hat is very small, way too small for most circulars. And so by doing magic loop, I can use a much longer circular. So what you're going to want to do is join in the round.
Okay.
And to do that, you've got your yarn over here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, we're going to bring it backwards of all things. You actually have to turn it backwards.
Okay.
Okay, and then the first thing you do with magic loop is, this is going to be the beginning of your round, you kind of find generally the middle, and you can count it out later if you want to. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle. And you just pull a piece of the needle through.
Okay.
And that's it. So when you're ready to knit, see that how you have, and then this does that.
Okay.
So when you join in the round, all you're going to be doing is taking the yarn from this side and immediately knitting here, and that's going to join it into the round, even though you have this little button flap here.
Okay.
So what you want to do first, now the pattern tells you to do a knit 2 together first?
I think it said yes, knit 2 together.
Okay, so do you know how to do that?
No.
Okay, so when in a knit 2 together, just so happens I have to do one right now too.
Perfect.
Knit 2 together, you put your needle between the second and third stitch, and instead of knitting like normal, you pick up these 2 and knit.
Okay.
And so you're basically just taking 2 stitches and turning it into 1.
Okay. Did I do that wrong?
Nope, just make sure you wanna hold them up tight together.
Okay.
When you're first joining into the round, so that you don't get a big gap.
Okay. So I go that right.
Yep.
There.
And then you can pull on that to pull them tighter together as well if you need to.
Oh gosh. Sorry everybody, I'm messing this up for sure.
Well, hey, if it's your first knit 2 together, things aren't perfect. First knit 2 together, and you're knitting it around, and you're doing magic loop. I mean, it's an awful lot of stuff to learn all at once.
Cred.
You can do it. Yeah, it is going to be a lot tighter than other stitches.
There we go. Got it.
Got it. See? And then all you do.
Got it.
Yeah.
And just pull it off.
Yeah, you just have it like a normal needle, just normal stitch on there, and then all you're doing is just keep knitting in the round. So knit across here, and then when you get to this point, you just essentially yank the end out, turn it, and go back in. So you just sort of adjust your needles twice around, and you can actually do magic loop with 1 loop. You can have it just sticking out of one side, and then let's say you're doing a sleeve and you're doing it from the top down and it's getting ever narrower, but at the top there's really only about 6 or 8 extra inches of cable, so you just have 1 loop sticking out. And then as you get down, it gets smaller, you can kind of start pulling that extra loop. So you have 2 loops of the cable sticking out, one on either side, just to accommodate that smaller circumference. But essentially with magic loop, you're always going to want to use a cord that will give you a 32-inch or longer circular needle, and that will really accommodate the vast majority of sizes of things that you'll need to do. And by doing that, you never actually have to change your needles. I mean, obviously, if the pattern says, switch to size 6 or something like that, then you'll want to do that. But where patterns call for several different sizes of circular needle, you won't have to do that if you do magic loop.
So for this particular pattern, which said knit flat, first, and then changed to DPNs. Could I have theoretically started with a magic loop?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, you can just work the whole thing on a circular needle. It works just like a flat needle, except instead of flipping the whole thing over and having an end, the end is just the other side of the needle, so you never actually have to run into it.
And you guys can note, when we started this, I was joining into the round, and
That's
so
right.
I had actually been knitting flat, and I had been using the 16
inch, that's
inches,
right, yeah.
And so that's how we started, and I've just transferred by simply taking off one of the needles from my shorter cable and putting it onto my longer cable and just knitting right along.
Yep.
So,
and I did the same thing with this hat, except I'm kind of going the opposite direction of you. This hat started out plenty big enough to fit around a 16-inch circular, so I just did it that way. It's fast. And then I took off one of the points, put it on this 32-inch cord, and then knit the next round onto the bigger cord so I could decrease for the crown and accommodate the smaller size. So, I mean, it's so efficient. It's so easy. If you could go on vacation and take a sweater project with you and only one needle.
wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
That's why I love Magic Loop. It seems to me to be just the most efficient use of circular knitting.
I would agree. Well, thanks, Kerin, for
Yeah,
your help. I
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. I hope that helped all of you.